Equity or debt? What is the best way to fundraise when you are a founder or a finance leader of a startup or fast growth business? So really tough question. And this is what I'm going to go through today, the pros and cons. Hi, my name is Alysha Randall. I am a Portfolio CFO for Fast Growth Consulting. I've worked with many different startups and fast growth businesses and founders, and I also help train finance leaders who are keen to become a CFO in this space. So today I'm going to talk about equity versus debt fundraising. What are the pros? What are the cons for each so that you can make an informed decision about what's right for your business? So every startup, raising funds is quite unique, and the way that they look at it is different, and also the different ways of raising debt or raising equity or different kind of instruments are also different. But largely it comes down to two options, equity and debt. So they're the two options that I'm going to compare. So equity fundraising, what is your pros? So two big pros or two main pros. The first one is you don't need to repay investors. So you raise money with them, they give you a ton of cash, and then it's yours. So you don't need to get on a payment plan. You don't need to repay them. Instead, they get a share of your company and hopefully future profits. The other big pro is they can really bring a lot of value outside a big ton of cash. So think about Shark Tank here in the Shark Tank in the US or Dragon's Den in the UK. When people are trying to decide which dragon to go for, they don't just consider about the terms and the amount of cash they're willing to put in, but also the knowledge that they're able to bring to the table, the network that they're able to bring is also a very big consideration. So they can bring on not only the knowledge and their expertise, they can also help with networking opportunities. And particularly in that really early stage, they can also give you credibility. And that's really important with, your brand awareness. That really, really helps. Your cons, so two big cons. The first one is that you're diluting your ownership. When you started the business, there may have just been two of you, so you had 50% each. Then, you bring in a couple of angels, they take 20%, that reduces your cut down to, 30%. And then, actually, that's not right, 35. And then after, when you've had multiple rounds, this could really drop your stake, to 10%, 15%, 5%, what have you. So when you come to exit and, in 5, 10, 15 years time, that is a really big, significant cost to you personally. So you definitely need to consider how much you're willing to dilute in order to grow the business quickly and bring on that extra fundraising. The other big con is too many chefs in the kitchen. So with lots of knowledge and, a big board, if you give away too many seats, board seats to your investors, you also have to deal with a lot of opinions and potentially pressure. So you kind of lose that autonomy and you'll be able to make the decisions without having to chat to the board. So you really do need to consider that, and also make sure that the people that you bring in, if you do bring in, that you kind of gel really well and you're able to do what you still want to do. So it is a really big factor, and you don't want to be in a situation where you're not enjoying your company anymore because, you've given away too much and there's too many people with too many opinions. So there is an allure of debt, when you consider those two cons. So with debt fundraising, big pros. First one's relatively quite obvious, and that is that you get to keep the ownership of your company. So once you've paid the debt, you don't owe anything to the lender in general. There obviously are some debt instruments where you're giving away some equity, but in general, when you've paid them back, that's it. So sometimes this can be cheaper when you're then giving away equity longer term, so it shouldn't be discounted. And the other one that's a really good one for people like me, finance leaders, is that the repayments are predictable. So you know exactly how much you have to pay them each week, each month. It's very easy to put in your cash flow forecast, and it just makes budgeting easier. So the cons, of course, is the regular repayments. So, yes, you got a huge amount of funding, but you need to obviously repay it over time. So you need to ensure that all of the goals that you're hoping to kick in order to, use that resources wisely, and therefore the repayments are quite straightforward. You need to make sure that you're able to do that. And this is quite, can be quite a barrier for startups that don't, generate that much revenue and actually may struggle to raise debt at all in those earlier days. But it is the biggest con, obviously, with debt. And the other one to consider as well is if you take on too much debt, then your business will be considered quite risky and it may deter future investors. So if you're planning on taking on lots of debt first and then go to equity, it may be harder to get investors. So, may want to think about it the other way around. So getting some early investors in first, get that credibility, and then potentially look on taking some debt rather than further equity. So both have their merits, both have pros and cons. What is the right choice? I would love to tell you that it's A or B, but unfortunately, I'm going to say the most annoying answer you can possibly say as a consultant, and that is that it depends. So it depends on your business model, it depends on your financial situation, your cash flows, and it also depends on the vision of the startup. So you really do need to look at those pros and cons and look at how it's going to work for your business. Remember, funding is just one strategy. It's not a goal. So you do need to think about it as you're looking at the strategy of the business in longer term. So whether you choose equity, whether you choose debt, or whether you choose a mix of both, you must always prioritize what works for your business longer term. So rather than thinking about those quick wins as far as fundraising is concerned, think about long term, think about where you want your business to be, what your exit strategy is, how big you want to get, when you're planning on doing various elements of fundraising. Build in some buffers because who knows when the economy is going to crash. And then think about how which fundraising kind of works for you. So thanks for watching. I've got links below on the article that I wrote about this particular topic, but also lots of other articles around finance leadership, founders, startups, and fast growth businesses. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.